Now we enter the last round, question 6. And this will first go to the District 9 candidates. A voter from Guntersville asks, our state constitution is 109 years old and is by far the oldest in the nation. Its 357,157 words contain 825 amendments. Critics argue that it consolidates power in Montgomery and leaves very little local control to the cities and counties. In 1901, this was by design to keep wealth and power in the hands of large landowners and away from an emerging middle class that included newly freed slaves. A two-part question. First, what is your position on constitutional reform? And second, do you favor a new constitution by convention or an article-by-article rewriting by the legislature? We'll start with the Senate candidates with Clay Schofield for 2 minutes, please.
As far as the Constitutional Convention, folks, just think about it. One thing that worries me is if we have a Constitutional Convention to rewrite that Constitution, do you not think special interests are going to be all over that? They will be, I assure you. They will be all over that. Now, the Constitution is imperfect. It is imperfect. I very much agree. And I do support an article-by-article rewrite of it. But there's one great thing, really two great things that the state Constitution of 1901 allows. Number one, we have to have a balanced budget. We wish that Washington had that, don't we? We can't spend any more than we take in, which is phenomenal. A lot of states don't have that. California is in a lot more trouble than we are because they have a huge budget deficit. And number two, it makes it very difficult to raise your taxes. You actually get to vote on it. That's a great thing. Sure, it's an imperfect document, but that is my big holdup. And if you just think about it just a little bit, we're talking about ethics reform. We're talking about, downplaying the lobbyists and the special interests. But do you not think that they will be all over a constitutional convention? The answer is they will be. They will be. There's no way to keep them out. And that's what really worries me about that. So I think the smart thing to do and the proper thing to do is an article-by-article rewrite, which is what Representative Paul DeMarco has been pushing and has been doing a very good job. And I support doing it like that. I'm just at this time, I don't think a constitutional convention is a good idea.
Thank you. Mr. Mitchell, 2 minutes, please.
Thank you. Constitutional reform. Now, the word reform, we all ought to be for that, right? I mean, reform is supposed to be good. It is good if it's done for the right reason. Now, we don't need to use constitutional reform just to have a back door to be able to raise your taxes. There's groups out there that are supporting constitutional reform, and if it happens the way they want it to, they'll be able to raise your taxes locally without having to go to Montgomery to get it done. I'm like, maybe I agree with Clay with this. The Constitutional Convention, I'm not sure is the right way to go, but he talks about special interest. I mean, we've got special interest down there right now involved in everything, every issue that comes up. That's another reason I say we need to have ban the pack-to-pack transfer and put a cap on our contributions. But if constitutional reform is done for the right reason, then yes, we can support that. And I'll give you an example. When I took office in January '89, I had a credenza behind my desk with 2 shelves of the Constitution and the laws of the state of Alabama. Now I have another bookcase that's full of the law. So, you know, in the last 21 years, I've had to buy a bookcase to add the Constitution, you know, in the office. So there does need to be some change, and I'd like to be part of that. Thank you.
Thank you. 30-second response, Clay Schofield.
I'm glad you agree with me on that, Tim. I think it's a proper answer. You know, a lot of the time the reason why a lot of these folks advocate changing the Constitution is because they talk about the length. I don't know about y'all, but I've never had to lug it around with me. You know, I think that like I say, it is a way that they're trying to get in there to raise our taxes. I know it is. It's a lot of people want us to spend more than we take in.
Wasn't paying attention. Excuse me. The District 26 candidates, beginning with Kerry Rich, your position on constitutional reform. 2 minutes, please.
Just a couple of things, and I probably won't even need 2 minutes, but when I was in the legislature the first time, myself and the late Representative Hubert Taylor, we sponsored a constitutional revision bill, and we almost got it passed. It was based on the recommendation of a constitutional commission that was set up by former Governor Albert Brewer several years ago. I favor doing it on an article-by-article basis. I'm afraid if you do it in a constitutional convention, that could get entirely out of hand. And the people that would put a lot of effort in electing the delegates, I would be a little leery of them, just to tell you the truth. But I do believe that we need to revise our Constitution. I would disagree with my colleague here, Clay Schofield, just a little bit. I think the thing is way too long. And one of the silliest things about the Constitution is the fact that people in Marshall County, for instance, in the upcoming election, there's an issue that involves Blount County. And why do we need to vote on something that affects Blount County? That's one of the simple things that we need to fix in the Constitution. But Clay, I've agreed with you on everything else tonight besides that one thing. But that's all I have.
Thank you. Randall White, 2 minutes, please.
Well, but it's way time to something that needs to be done to the Constitution. It's outdated. It needs to be revised. I think originally when it was made, had to do with landowners about their slaves and people becoming middle class, and that was originally the reason it was made the way it was. So it's just an outdated piece of work. Clay was talking about the weight of it. I heard the last person that carried it around had 3 back surgeries after he carried it around. It's so large. It's a huge outfit, but it's time to do something about it. Probably the best way to do it is by the article. The Constitutional Convention, it could get political, but it could get political other way also. You know, I can see politics getting in it that way. So it's going to be a stressful, tiresome effort. We get down there to do something about it, but we're going to knock it out. We're going to do it right, and we'll try to keep politics out of it.
Thank you. Mr. Rich, a 30-second response.
I don't have a response.
Thank you. From District 27, Mr. McLaughlin.
All right, thank you. I appreciate the opportunity to finally get to it. Constitutional reform. I think we need constitutional reform. It's not the age of the document. We've got a lot of constitutions in the United States that are older. It is not necessarily the length. It's the fact, number one, that it creates an economic stumbling block, really, for any kind of progress in this state. That's why we need that's why we need constitutional reform. When you have to have a constitutional amendment to allow the sheep and goat industry to organize and promote sheep and goats in Alabama, you need a new constitution. Now, it's been asked, do you support article by article or constitutional convention? I know Paul DeMarco brought up something last year, but Frank McDaniel worked on article by article constitutional rewrite for years, and he knows I supported him on that. I think an article by article rewrite is a good idea. The problem is the last time we rewrote a part of the Alabama Constitution was 1973. And we did a good job rewriting it. We rewrote the judicial article. We did a darn good job with it. But that's going to take, by that rate, it'll take us about 200 years to rewrite a 9 or 10 section Constitution. So why not a convention? I'll tell you, I think if we pass a bill to eliminate pact transfers, make ethics reform transparent, make sure the electoral process is more trustworthy, then if we elect people to a constitutional convention, you can have trust in the process. And you know what? If we have a new document, you know what? The people of Alabama have to vote on it. So nobody's going to run and ram a new constitution down your throat. We'd have to vote on it. We would have to accept it by a vote. And I trust the people of Alabama. I always have.
Thanks.